You can understand, though, why people would be pretty reluctant to book anything in. I think a lot of people have been burnt by holidays having to be cancelled in the past 18 months or so. How has your sector responded to that? I mean, have we seen a massive increase in flexibility to bookings, to cancellation policies and that sort of thing? Is there anything you can offer anyone who might be thinking about booking a trip but just don't want to put that cash on the line if there's
Absolutely. Flexibility is the absolute key, Ashley. We have to make sure that customers feel confident to be able to want to make their booking and to look ahead. I think there's going to be, to some degree, a scarcity of supply once booking demand does return. And we're very, very kind of conscious and aware that in the first quarter of 2022, as restrictions are removed in Australia, as our international borders start to open, and as we start to reconnect with the world, we're going to see real huge demand for people getting out there, people wanting to see friends and family, people wanting to get to Europe and have those fantastic experiences in the Northern Hemisphere next summer. So flexibility is really important. Having COVID-safe protections, which all major tour operators now are embedding into their policies, which give customers real flexibility so that if their circumstances do change as a result of border closures, which we think will be far less expected next year, or as a result of unfortunate COVID infection or the like, then customers can be safe in the knowledge that they can either access full refunds or that their money can be held in credit for future travel opportunities.
James, you're from the UK. You've lived through, I think it's up to today, 242 days of lockdown there in Melbourne. What is the view from friends, colleagues overseas? As a business executive, do you worry that Australia has damaged its reputation by this sort of current Fortress Australia stance after doing so well early on? Where do you think we're at now in terms of how the world's looking back at us?
I think so, Ash. I think the Fortress Australia worked incredibly well, and the government did an incredible job early on of keeping us all safe and secure. But the vaccine rollout has been very challenging here in Australia, and it's coming from the UK where they really struggled in the early days of managing COVID. Unlike Australia, the vaccine rollout's been a huge success, and I think it's approaching nearly 90% of the population has had a first vaccination. I've actually just come back from Europe. Over there, life is very COVID normal now. If you're in France, for example, you wear a mask indoors. If you want access to a restaurant or you go into a hotel or you want to travel on a train, you have to have proof of travel through a QR system on a COVID-approved app. And that is either that you're vaccinated, that you've had COVID in the last 6 months, or that you've received a negative test in the last 7 days. And so that really is the process around how Europe is starting to be able to move again. And you'll be seeing on the television at the moment that sports stadiums are increasingly full, concerts are returning, restaurants are full, schools are returning to normal. And so the world really is, particularly from a European perspective, moving towards this COVID normal environment. I think Australia is probably 3-4 months behind. But as our vaccination rates approach to the 80%, 90% fully vaccinated, our federal and state governments really need to stick to that national rollout plan of being able to provide the freedoms for those fully vaccinated people. And that's going to require that removal of quarantine as that first hurdle, moving towards a home quarantine. I think I saw a stat today that 21,000 people in Victoria and in New South Wales are currently in a home quarantine environment as a result of having COVID. So if we can trust our people that are in Australia who've got COVID to home quarantine, surely we can do the same for our international travellers who are fully vaccinated and have proof of a negative test to do exactly the same as the first step.